I've been getting a lot of questions lately. With the new iPhone 17 series out, is this guy, the iPhone 16 Pro, still worth your money? Or should you just, skip it? I've actually been using the 16 Pro alongside my daily driver, the 17 Pro, for a while now, just to see how it actually holds up 1 year later. And honestly, the answer might actually surprise you. Because even though I'm on the 17 Pro now, every time I pick this thing up, I'm like, wow, this is still really good. So in this video, I want to just casually chat about my experience with the iPhone 16 Pro, specifically the Desert Titanium model, covering everything from how that battery is doing after a year, the gaming performance, the cameras, and of course the software situation with the new iOS 26. Let's get into it. Okay, so real quick before we start the review, do you guys remember the hype when this first dropped? It was kind of a weird time, right? The big deal back then was that Apple finally brought the 5x optical zoom, which was usually gatekept for the big Max phones, down to this smaller size. That was huge for people like me who, don't exactly want a tablet in their pocket. Plus, it was the debut of the camera control button. We'll talk about whether that's actually useful in a minute. But yeah, looking back, this phone was actually a pretty significant shift in terms of bringing Max features to the regular Pro size. Starting with the design, I have the Desert Titanium color here, and honestly, for me, this is the best color Apple has done in a while. It's just sleek, it's elegant without being too loud. And the material itself, this grade 5 titanium, I think this might be peak design material. It's super lightweight but feels really strong. I know the newer iPhone 17 Pro models have gone to that aluminum unibody. And while that's cool, I honestly think the titanium on the 16 Pro still feels more premium. It's just got that expensive touch, Display-wise, we're looking at that 6.3-inch screen. It was a slight bump up from the old 6.1-inch models, and I think it's the sweet spot. The colors are great, and that ProMotion display is still buttery smooth. I know the 17 Pro now has that insane 3000 nits brightness, but honestly, the brightness on this 16 Pro is still really, really decent. I've never had trouble seeing it outdoors. Oh, and huge plus point here, the USB-C port on the bottom. It's USB 3 speeds. This is actually a big deal because even the newer iPhone 17 base model, it still has slower USB speeds. So if you transfer files a lot, the older 16 Pro actually beats the new base model there. Now let's talk performance. So under the hood, this thing is running the A18 Pro chip, and just to give you the raw data, because I know some of you care about this stuff, I actually ran a Geekbench 6 test just before filming this. I got a 3448 on single core and 8748 on multi-core. But numbers are just numbers, right? Like who actually cares about a score unless it translates to something you feel? In the real world, it's honestly insane. I use this phone for literally everything, from just basic scrolling on social media to some seriously heavy gaming. And when I say gaming, I'm not just talking about just mainstream mobile gaming. I play AAA console quality games on here, next gen stuff like the Resident Evil remakes and the latest Assassin's Creed, and it handles them great with basically all settings unlocked. And the coolest part is the ray tracing. That fancy lighting tech. The A18 Pro handles it so much better than the older models. The reflections and shadows in games look crisp, and it doesn't feel like the phone is struggling to keep up. Now we gotta talk about the heat, because I know the previous iPhone 15 Pro had a bad reputation for turning into a hot potato. On the 16 Pro, the thermals are much improved. Don't get me wrong, if you're playing for a long session, it still gets pretty warm. But the difference is the warmness is just, it's not that annoying. Burn your fingers kind of heat. It feels like the phone is dissipating the heat properly rather than trapping it. And crucially, I haven't noticed constantly the screen dimming down when it gets warm. Yep, I still experience it of course, but it's not that like on older 15 Pro, which was a huge annoyance on the 15 Pro. So raw performance, great. Thermals, way better. Also, I want to mention the RAM because this is something people overlook. This phone has 8 GB of RAM, which is actually the same as the new iPhone 17 base model. And this is why this phone is still so reliable today. When I re-review older models that only have 4 GB or 6 gigs of RAM, I notice background apps constantly reloading. You switch apps and boom, the app restarts. It's frustrating. But on this 16 Pro, the RAM management is solid. You can have a game pause, jump into a browser, check an email, and go back to the game, and it's still there instantly. It makes the phone feel reliable for multitasking, especially with the new iOS 26 animations, which are just super fluid on this hardware. Software-wise, I'm running the latest iOS 26, which came out a few months ago. And can we just talk about this update? It feels like a huge upgrade. The new liquid glass design language they added, it just makes everything feel more fluid. The animations are super satisfying. Honestly, switching back and forth, it makes older versions like iOS 18 feel kinda ancient. Like I see a huge gap in the design polish now. I will say though, and maybe you guys noticed this too when I first updated to iOS 26, the phone got a bit warm for the first day or two. I'm pretty sure it was just re-indexing system files and settling in, because after that it's been smooth sailing. Everything opens quick, swiping is instant, absolute decent performance. Let's touch on battery, because I know that's what everyone cares about. So this specific unit, which first started using it in January 2025, it's got 166 cycle counts, and my battery health is still sitting at 100%. With the new adaptive power feature they turned on in iOS 26, I've actually noticed some improvements for my usage, which is like mainstream stuff, social media, calling, a bit of YouTube, some work apps. It easily goes a whole day. I'm not running for a charger at 4 p.m., which is nice. Okay, cameras, you've got that dual 48 megapixel setup for the main and ultra wide, and then the 12 megapixel 5x telephoto. That 5x zoom is the real winner here. Before the 16 Pro, if you wanted the good zoom, you had to buy the Giant Max phone. But having this reach on a regular sized phone is so useful for portraits or just getting closer to stuff without moving. The results are great. Video-wise, it shoots 4K at 120 FPS, which is super crisp if you like doing slow motion edits. Now, the camera control button, size with a smile. Look, back when they announced this, Apple really nailed the marketing. It looked so cool. But honestly, after using it for a year, for me, it's not that useful. It's nice to have, sure, and it feels cool to click, but I usually just end up tapping the screen anyway. It's more of a fun feature than a must-have functionality for me. A quick note on Apple Intelligence. The phone supports it, obviously, but if I'm being 100% honest with you guys, it's not a huge deal for me yet. It still feels kind of early, almost like a beta product. For my actual work or when I need to get things done, I usually just stick to alternatives that are more powerful right now, like Gemini or ChatGPT. They just feel more robust. So don't buy this phone just for the Apple Intelligence features because you might find yourself using other apps anyway. So the verdict, iPhone 16 Pro review 1 year later. Here is my thought. I actually recommend you buy this iPhone 16 Pro. Now that the 17 series has dropped, the price on this has become a steal. You're getting that premium titanium build, which I think beats the newer aluminum on the newer Pro models. You're getting the Pro camera system with 5x zoom, USB 3 speeds, and performance that is still totally relevant for years to come. However, if you look at the market and you see that the price gap between the 16 Pro and the 17 Pro isn't that big, then yeah, just go straight to the 17 Pro. You get those upgrades like the brighter screen, better camera, and so much more. But for most people who are budget conscious but still want that Pro experience, this phone is a beast. Anyway, that's been my experience. Let me know in the comments if you're still rocking a 16 Pro or if you're planning to pick one up used. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.